Say when.
Say when. Come up a little more.
I haven't moved it.
Little more. Lot more. Keep going. You're not actually moving it. We're actually live right now.
I am moving it.
Okay, that's good.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, everybody, this is Matt, and we're at Texas Toast Guitars. Thanks for watching another live stream, Thursday Tax Day edition, live at 5, question and answer. And this week, I've got my friend, your friend, Mike Learn, master painter.
What?
Have you been master painting this week?
I was master painting quite a bit. Yes.
We all watched him master paint.
I know that.
So guys, we've got Mike's here, and if you've got any questions about guitar building or painting or what it's like to hang out with supermodels and rock stars, Mike is the man to ask.
Whatever.
And if you just want to know what it's like to be a dorky guy building guitars, I'm here too. So
we both fall in that category.
Well,
Picture's blurry.
the picture's blurry. Well, there's nothing we can do about that.
Internet
So,
speed.
Internet speed. Yeah.
So, guys, if the picture's blurry, I'm sorry.
How many people are running on our Wi-Fi?
I don't think very many.
No.
Not me.
Okay, so just us.
So just you and me. Okay.
Okay, so let's see, Mike. We have been doing a class all week. You and Chris and I, along with 6 other guys who are building really cool guitars.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to the reveal tomorrow. It's going to be the biggest reveal we've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, everything came out so uniquely individual based upon people's ideas of what they want to do with the class. I honestly, I couldn't have been more excited to see the results, what we got thus far, and didn't know what the challenge was going to be going into class. I knew it was going to be a little bit difficult because everybody kind of had different ideas of what they want to do, rather than me saying, okay, you're going to paint this, it's going to be done this way. But besides, some of the basics we had to go through, I think everything, man, killer.
How is this different from the airbrush art circus classes that you still do?
Well, the airbrush art circus classes is based kind of like around a different price point as well as skill level. I mean, I think that this one here, a lot of people had 0 airbrushing skills.
Yeah.
Whereas the airbrush art circus class, we actually work from a kit guitar.
Okay.
And assemble from there. So it's a little different. I think this class is definitely on the upper end of the.
You and I wanted something that was next level collection of equipment.
Right.
So yeah.
I mean, machining the necks yourselves and doing all the fret work, and we don't get into that with the airbrush art circus. This instrument is by far a big jump in quality.
Mm-hmm. It's a pro level instrument.
It really is. Yeah. It's an heirloom quality instrument that everyone's going to have when they're done. So
yeah, no, it was.
And I'm not trying to take away from the airbrush art circus thing, as you know. No. I'm just trying to let everyone know that we use premium hardware and they got to do a lot more stuff than they might have gotten to do it. Because where do you do those?
There are different areas of the country, Florida, Arizona.
Like what types of rooms are they?
They're generally big ballrooms inside of resorts or like at a hotel conference center.
So I guess I knew that. I was trying to steer you there. So there's not a lot of woodworking going on. Is what I'm getting.
Zero woodworking. I mean, there might be a little filing here and there, some sanding.
Yeah.
But no, it's a completely different curriculum. And quite honestly, I mean, as much respect as I have for those guys and working with all the artists there,
awesome.
It's like I didn't want to do this class and try to duplicate it. I really was working with you, having the opportunity to take it to the next level. So I'm not stepping on any of those guys' toes.
Yeah, we definitely did not want to do that. This is a whole separate thing. That's another thing altogether.
Yes.
So. And the cool thing is you designed the guitar that we built.
That's true.
And I think it's really awesome. And on Monday when we started, there were 7 little soldiers ready for paint, and they were all identical. And now they're all even though the shapes are all the same, they look completely different.
Completely. I mean, you cover a lot of different era of the warbirds and aviation history. Everybody come in with some different ideas. Some of it was personal to them, and we definitely captured a lot of iconic warbird action
Oh,
in the
yeah.
class.
Yeah.
So.
Lots and lots and lots of cool stuff. I know everybody had a good time, including Chris and myself, because it's cool to have one extra guy here with us like you we can bounce ideas off of if there's any little things that what do we do now?
Right.
So yeah. So it's been really awesome to hang out with you all week. So.
Yeah, man. And the key to anything, like when you do this, I've mentioned a couple times while painting, is don't freaking panic. Don't panic. Don't react too fastly. Things will come to mind and you'll get over the obstacles. And we did have some challenges.
Sure.
And we got through them. I think it was a really good base for understanding what we need to do this class again in the
You and I were already doing a little bit of planning, a little
Yeah.
pre-planning for some things that might come up
right.
coming soon. So, but anyway, we've got more on all the guitars that we built with the guys. There's 7 guitars for the reveal tomorrow. The biggest reveal we've ever done on a Friday live. So make sure to tune in for that. I don't know what time we're going to do it, because if we get done early, you know what I mean? It's going to go long. So if normally a reveal is like 15, 20 minutes on a long side, there's 7 guitars and everyone's going to want to tell a little bit about their guitar. Well, that's an hour and a half at regular time. So if we start a little early, plus the guys are going to want to, start, they're going to go eat, stuff like that. So anyway, so more about the build and paint a guitar, paint and build a guitar with Mike Learn class tomorrow, as well as the reveal, and you guys get to see everything. Chris, are there any questions so far?
Well, so far, Greg Pearl, who we will see next week,
Yes.
says $5 for more beer.
Hey, all right.
I have a question.
I'm all ears.
For Mike, did you ever think that you would see the creation of 7 more Spazmasters after the first one?
No, and it was really, I never would have imagined it. I mean, to turn it into a class and then see the individuality of each of these instruments based upon, it was really a collaboration. I can't say that I necessarily designed it. I mean, we all kind of hung in here one weekend.
I remember it was a Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Right. Yeah. We were all drinking beer, having fun, and doing a little
blast.
And
I had nothing to do with the design because I was filming silently, unfortunately. But you guys designed it. I had nothing to do with it.
I think it's a great design. I'm gonna own build one myself someday.
How many guitars have you designed? Like, you've designed guitars with Grover Jackson, Matt Flaherty, Chris Fesker,
all the
Grover
greats.
Jackson,
Jackson musical as well.
Mrs. Toast actually has a guitar that she painted that you and Grover Jackson designed.
Yes,
that Super Strat soloist kind of inspired guitar.
Yeah. Grover and I worked on designing a line of guitars almost immediately after he had left working with Jackson again. And we came up with a couple different models. One was called the Icon, and it was a very unique guitar. And it became awkward, I think, at the point in time with working with finances to find dealerships and stuff like that, people who wanted to sell the instrument. But, working with Grover at any point in time in your life and doing anything at all is certainly an educational experience that I certainly treasure. And he's a very good friend. I get the chance to talk to him a few times a year.
That guy knows everything.
Yeah. I mean, he's actually getting ready to move over to the East Coast. He's leaving California.
Oh, wow.
And, is my understanding. I spoke to him about a month ago. He was wanting some pickups for me. And he said he was just about to get ready to move. But
is
what
the
a great
whole
guy.
business going to go too, or is he just going to?
I don't really know. I didn't
see.
really ask that. I mean, I'm sure that he's got some guys who have been there, probably don't mind escaping the I guess California atmosphere these days.
Okay.
But he's heading over to the Nashville area. Sorry.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
This thing, is there a super chat?
No.
Is there? Are you sure there's not one from Doug because he just did this?
No. It has to go to outer space and back.
Oh, okay.
But Driddle says, is he still with Friedman?
Yes, he's still building for Friedman. Yeah, and a few other ghost building manufacturers as well. I think he's finding a lot more security in that, than, like he was doing the GJ2 guitars for a while. And John Gold was kind of like working with him in the background, financially getting some backers and stuff like that. But building guitars is a tough market. I don't care who you are. You know what I mean?
You told me a little over a year ago when we were approached by a company to do a little ghost building for, and I'm like, hey, Mike, should I do this? Is this a bad idea or is this a good idea? And you gave me a piece of advice that I use every day, and that is you've got to play the angles. And you said that you got that advice from Dave Perowitz?
Dave Perowitz, yeah. Perowitz Cycles, yeah.
Yeah.
Motorcycle builder on East Coast.
And I think about that almost daily. Like, what can we do? I don't want to say no to anybody, but I don't want to, I try to, you probably do this too. Rather than say no to someone, you play the angle of, I'm going to price it so high that they won't do it.
I work that way sometimes,
but I guess I don't, that's not what I mean by playing the angles though, but that's an angle that I play.
Right. I mean, for me, in the way it's developed in the past year with COVID and let's say the last 16 months actually, and my wife lost her job in March. We've actually been developing lines of product that are tangent to what I do every day. And what we're trying to do is like with this class, providing people.
This was totally an angle.
This was an opportunity for me to exploit the idea I had for Warbird Graphics, which was a vinyl package kit where people with a minimal amount of skill could pull off their paint job with some assistance with the vinyl layout, a little bit of history, and some photo referencing. So my wife, Diana, has been putting all this stuff together in the background, kind of like tangent to what I do, focus straight up the middle.
You guys will not believe what these guys came up with tomorrow. You won't know whether to shit or go blind. It's that awesome.
Yeah, well, these guys really took the education to the next level. I mean, seriously, couldn't have expected these things to come out as well as they did, knowing that most of these guys have never airbrushed in their life before. Yeah,
everybody's looks really cool, and I'm excited. So, okay, are there any guitar building questions for Michael?
First of all, we got a super chat from Bruno Doug San Martino, right? Doug San,
the wrestler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Nice.
So. No, Doug Santinello said best week ever.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt, Maple Syrup and Mike. My new nickname is Maple Syrup because on one of these things I'm going to chug 12 ounces of maple syrup.
Oh, Chris.
I'll show you guys what's up.
Oh, Chris.
Liam asks, how thick
Liam.
should a fretboard be before gluing it to a neck?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Also, that ambrosia maple guitar was a beauty.
Well, thank you. So I think every guitar player has fretboard thicknesses that they like. I tend to err on the side of thicker. Where do you come down, Mike?
I'm roughly 0.28 to 0.30, depending on the inlay.
That's where I like to live too. So a little more than a quarter, 375 is
325.
325. Okay, yeah. I like that because I think people like the way they like a big, thick fretboard.
Yes.
That's what
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what
And
she said.
another thing about big thick fretboards, it actually becomes an engineered part of the neck when you're dealing with oftentimes where you have a slab cut piece of wood for your neck section versus something that's cross cut.
Yep.
You can enhance and also vary the depth of pockets. And when you have the opportunity to create build a custom instrument, you can adjust these according to the type of woods you're using. What are you doing with the heel set? How much room do you have to play with? How are these things good?
If you have a nice, big, thick fretboard that's vertical grain, you get a lot of the strength advantages that you would get out of everything being
exactly
vertical grain, quarter sawn, whatever, what have you.
So true. So
yeah, and I think if you have a very super slim fretboard, that's not going to add any stability. But imagine you have a 1/4 inch or more fretboard that's nice vertical grain lumber. It's going to keep the string deflection from putting a bunch of stress on the neck.
Yeah, and if let's say you have a gorgeous piece of maple or some other figured piece of wood that was maybe 0.20, you could certainly laminate that to even gain some more strength advantage as far as being able to work with the strength and the direction of the truss rod adjustment.
Oh, speaking of truss rod, what about this? I know you've done this because I got the idea from you. If you have a nice thick fretboard, you can make a slimmer neck by kind of incorporating the truss rod slot into the fretboard.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
you can
Yes.
cheat a little bit.
You can. There's a lot of ways to do it. And, knowing the type of wood, knowing the strength of the wood and the direction of the growth of the wood and how it has been cut can really give you the advantage to create something different and something unique and, and make adjustments as far as, the strength of the wood and along the way.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Good question.
And, how much do you do for truss rods?
Well, we do a lot with carbon fiber stiffening rods.
Stiffening rods, yes.
Not as much as I think people think we ought to. We use one piece necks, and we don't have a really aggressive neck headstock angle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really not a big deal for us. Plus, we try to source all of our wood so that it's so that we don't have a lot of run out of the grain.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we look for the best wood that we can, and we don't try to add a bunch of carbon fiber to reinforce stuff like headstocks.
Right. Well, certainly not headstocks. I mean, with the way you guys are doing, it'd be kind of difficult too.
Yeah.
With the depth of cut when you guys come in with the way you use your router and
but on bases, I always put something
extra.
And I like steel.
Yeah.
Not because so what's the benefit with carbon fiber is it's as strong as steel but really light. With a base, I'm like, out of hell with the light thing. I throw steel bars in there, and that's what I like. But I love carbon fiber. It's expensive, and people aren't necessarily ready to start springing for it, but we'll do it. We've got one of our prostitute bases that's getting carbon fiber rods for Rich, and I don't know if he's watching, but it's very, very cool.
Do you feel like the carbon fiber stiffeners, do they have more of a torsional play between the nut and the heel of the neck, or is it more of this?
Yeah, I think that you get along the path of the string is where the carbon fiber really shines.
Gotcha.
Or steel. Mm-hmm. The other thing where steel shines in a bass is, and if I weren't a bass player, I would never believe that this was a thing. You get these ghost notes.
Mm-hmm.
And like sometimes me and Aguilar amps never got along. My A string or anything that was in the A note, it would just disappear. Mm. And I started putting steel rods in my necks, and all of a sudden it's like, every single note comes out and punches you in the face, which that's the kind of bass player I am. I have the punch you in the face bass playing style.
You want the bass in your face.
You want the bass in your face.
The ace of the bass in the face.
Yes. Up in your face.
Well, and myself being a bass player these days, I can appreciate
bass playing.
Yeah. And but the last three basses I built without the carbon stiffeners, but I compensated with the thickness and the direction of the grain of the wood. Mm. And I knew I had a certain amount of, and I was running 105s. Okay. And if I was running 110s, I probably would have been like, put the stiffeners in.
I got some steel rods that I'm going to give you for carbon fiber, they're $20 a throw for carbon fiber. The steel are $2, so it's a tenth the price, and it's a little heavier, but give it a shot and see what you think. Yeah.
Do you embed those steel rods into like an epoxy so they have no chance to? Gotcha, because they're obviously not responding.
Yeah,
we do now.
We do now. Yeah, there was a handful of times that they.
What was the biggest unforeseen challenge of the week or challenges of the week?
The biggest unforeseen challenge.
I think for me. We used 2 Hour Clear from Tamco.
Oh yeah. So now let's not indict the product. No. Because it's good stuff.
So but the challenge was I used that product because we only had a certain amount of time frame.
Yeah.
That we're doing this stuff in. So it was used the second day we were clearing that afternoon.
Yeah.
And so they had to be cleared and cured so we could do the rest of the work the following day. And so, that was my biggest challenge. These guys working with the class, the students and stuff, that was really the easiest part of the class. I mean, I'm just so amazed at how easily these guys pick the stuff. Some, like I said, the majority of them not having airbrushed before. It's really amazing and almost humbling.
This is the biggest class we've ever done here in the new shop. The biggest hurdle for us was just spatial things. You know, where are we in relation to when we blow through that wall and have the new wood shop area, we could accommodate more students. But just like, well, we only have one bandsaw right now. We only have the one drill press. So we could probably make some of that stuff go away.
No, it worked out great. I think the way that it was arranged, there was enough room. It would have been a different story, I think, if we were building neck throughs and trying to accommodate the full length of the instrument. But I think that working with the bolt-on bodies was certainly set up perfectly. I don't think you guys could have done any better with the arrangements we had. It really ran flawlessly. I mean, it could have been the most stress-free class that I've ever been involved with, quite honestly.
Chris and I were talking. We wanted to get all the stress out of the way in the 2 weeks before the class when we were working on all this shit. And believe you me, we stressed over it prior to that. So we wouldn't have to.
Exactly.
Oh, we ran out of white paint on day 1 too. That was
no biggie though.
We didn't know.
No, that's no big deal.
Only sorta.
Yeah.
Right.
We still got white paint. It just was a little touch and go there.
Yeah, and I had plenty of white paint at home. I had like a gallon of it. It was really not that big of a deal.
Oh, and for all you people who know about my love for the people at Finish Master, I had to go to Finish Master, but I went with Diana Learn, and it was like that lady there was a whole new person when I walked in with Diana Learn. It was So. Okay, what else we got, Chris?
This is a good question.
Okay.
Bill Mark wants to know,
Hi, Bill.
Any easy way to install springs onto 1 1/4 inch long screws for pickup rings for humbuckers? Takes me 20 minutes each. I have a really good answer.
Okay, I'm all
Cut
ears.
the spring down to 1 1/8 inches.
Yeah, you can always cut a little bit off the
cut
spring.
a little bit off of the spring, and it will make your life infinitely easier.
Totally.
StuMac makes a deal that like is a spring compressor that
it's like
is
the
humbucker buddy, and we have some, and I don't know
How much was that unit?
Alligator clip says stuff.
perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah.
The
Anyway,
springs don't have to be as long as they are. They're using
cut
springs
those.
that are too long with screws that are too
Also,
short.
Yeah,
But
and there's-
ultimately too long.
Yeah, so many variables. I mean,
Yeah.
I won't hesitate to take a set of side cutters to a spring.
Correct.
You know?
yeah, most humbucker springs that I get, I cut in half, and then I have the set that I'm going to use on that pickup.
The spring isn't giving you any really stabilization in the pickup that's going to rock laterally from the neck, from the nut to the trim or the bridge. It's going to still want to rock on that. So you're not gaining anything by any extra spring tension.
Yeah.
Other than the headache of trying to install it without flinging it across the room.
Have you ever used the Bartolini humbucking pickup that doesn't have the little ears? It's like a P90, but it's a humbucking size pickup
For a guitar?
Yeah.
No, I haven't used that yet.
So it's really cool if you're going to direct mount because you can make the hole really super tight. And then it's got 2 screws that go in like a P90.
Right.
And, you can put like spring or foam or squishy something, and it's really neat.
And, quite honestly, that's one of the reasons why I designed the PMS pickup mounting system.
What's the PMS pickup mounting system? He said knowingly.
The PMS pickup mounting system is something that I sell through FU Tone, and it's a brass block that has a center post and a tripod. So what it does is allow you to adjust the height in the center, and you lock down, pushing down this way. So you have 2 different directions.
Oh, wow.
And it locks into the pickup, and it keeps you from rocking off of that pivot point of the 2 outer positions.
Okay.
And so what that does, in essence, is your guitar is going to vibrate at a certain natural frequency based upon what chords, what strings. When it oscillates at a certain frequency, maybe it's the first fundamental, second fundamental harmonic, of that, it's decreasing that signal level on that spectrum.
Okay.
So with the PMS system, what it's doing is locking it down to the body. So when the body vibrates, the string vibrate, they all work together in unison instead of canceling
brass,
out.
That's always okay.
Exactly. So that's the whole principle of that unit.
Where
That's why I
do
designed
people
it.
get them?
You can get them at futone.com.
You know, I'm like, cool, okay.
Yeah.
So so if you are doing direct mount pickups, you might want to check out the PMS
PMS
system from
pickup
Mike
mounting
Learn
system. Yep.
at FU Tone.
Yep.
Hey, FU Tone. Hey,
In PMS, pickup what
Mounting
is-
system.
pickup menstrual syndrome.
What does
Yes.
PMS stand for?
Pickup mounting system.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Putting
That's
up
what it
with
sounds
So the
for.
pickup mounting system, PMS, pickup mounting system?
System.
is
Pickup
the way to go?
mounting
system.
system,
Got
not
it.
PMS,
Got it.
post-menstrual syndrome.
Pickup mounting system.
Premenstrual
system.
syndrome.
Putting up with men syndrome.
Oh shit.
That would be the PUMS system.
Yeah, but give them a shot. They work great.
I like the
Really?
idea. I know I've seen them, so I'm
Yeah.
just shining. Oh, I will. Hey, Mike, that seems cool. No, it really is a cool thing to do, and it eliminates some variables when you're direct mounting a pickup.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get density of wood, trying to get these things to mount, depending on the type of wood, stuff. There's a lot of people will say, it's all $35 mumbo jumbo bullshit. But I tell you what, you try them, you don't like them, Adam will give you your money back on those things. So and I don't think it's ever happened.
That's cool.
Because
So
they-
no risk guarantee. Right on.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yep.
What else we got, Chris?
We had a question about what do you all think of Ibanez guitars?
Mm.
Well, I think that Ibanez guitars are super cool, especially the Ibanez Artist line. In the 80s, remember they had those like double cutaway carved tops?
Mhm.
I love those guitars. No, I'm not. The kind of guitars that I like are not usually the really aggressive super strats with Floyds and stuff. That's not what I am personally into. I like those, but like I don't play. I kind of come down on the Les Paul side of stuff. Oh, that's another thing. I always thought the Ibanez lawsuit stuff was really cool too.
Right, the early stuff from
Yeah.
the early 80s.
Yeah. So or death metal, they probably make a guitar that you'll really like.
Yeah, I mean, myself, I've repaired a lot of them. I've seen stuff come through that, definitely validates their position in this industry.
Mhm.
And then I've had the anomalies along the way where you
Yeah.
have stuff that's, designed on a 3-axis machine, but yet there's shims in the side of the neck pocket. They've cut to thickness. You can tell they thickness sand it. And then they
Really?
applied these shims inside the neck pocket. Yeah. And I have to deal with that doing finishes. And I'm like,
Hey, man.
understand why, And another thing too, was it the neck that you had in here with the scallop fingerboard? Why didn't they use a 2-way adjustable truss rod instead of the old school?
Oh
one-way?
yeah, I don't know. We suspect that was scalloped aftermarket, right, Doug? We don't know, but I don't know why they don't use a 2-way. All right, Larry, on the same sheet of music. I like a 2-way adjustable where you move the rod one way and it does something, you move it the other way, it actively does something each way the rod turns.
Right.
Because some guys will go 2-way truss rod, that means it works a 1-way here and 1-way here and 1-way here. The rod is acting in 2 different planes. But when we say 2-way truss rod, when you turn it clockwise, it moves the rod and it does one thing. You move
Right.
it anti-clockwise, it actively does
Lengthens
something.
the rod. Yeah.
So I don't know why anybody still uses a single acting truss rod. Or why would you do that?
Well, maybe it's marketing hyperbole and they're trying to establish some sort of precedent that this provides better tonal response,
Maybe.
possibly.
Maybe.
I mean, but mechanically, for all the years that I played, I've had guitars set up with, even the ones that I built prior, way back in my guitar building age, where I would build my own single adjusting truss rod.
Yeah.
But I would preload the stress on it so that I could unload the tension to do the reverse like a 2-way would.
Yeah. So as you loosen the nut, it does something. It won't do a lot, but
exactly. But you would have to put an awful lot of pressure on, putting that neck together to enable that to happen on that nut.
So what Mike learned, everyone knows your last name. What Mike is talking about is before you level the fretboard, you would crank the rod so that you kind of build in some of this,
Right.
and then you flatten the fretboard, and then you do all your fret work.
Oh no! Even gluing up your fingerboard. What I did was I would create a call that would have an adjustable turnbuckle in it.
Oh wow!
So
cool.
I could preload the whole neck prior to, with allowing me to back it off and get some adjustment level.
So if you haven't, so it's still a single acting rod in that if you turn the nut lefty loosey,
Right.
it'll come off but it'll do something.
It will move
yeah.
marginally in that direction, because I mean, there was a lot of guitars that I had worked on throughout the years, and I kept seeing the difference in these rods and you know, repairing busted Gibson headstocks. And then you see these great two-way action truss rods.
Yeah.
I'm like, why aren't they using those?
People still do that to me. I know you get it too. Hey, I want you to make this and this and this and build me this basically a Les Paul, and I got to have this rod. Well, why do you want that kind of rod?
It's really so like old school, that you know, that's just the way they made them, and they got smarter along the way. Yeah, and they made a much better truss rod.
What's next, Chris?
How necessary is it to use copper shielding tape on the undersides of an electronics type pickguard?
Depends on the pickups.
It really does.
Yeah. If you're using active pickups, it's completely unnecessary. If you're not, okay, if you're making one guitar, it's absolutely essential to use the best quality components you can. No amount of cost should be saved to make one guitar. If you're making 1,000 guitars, that's a whole different kettle of fish. So if you can use a little bit less copper shielding, this is the way factories work, by the way.
Right.
If you use a little less copper shielding on the pickguard, then you save a little bit of money times 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000. And that's one of the ways that factories make money. When guys like Mike or Chris or myself make one guitar at a time, we can afford to use one guitar at a time. So we don't have to skimp on product for 1,000 guitars. So imagine this. If you're making 1,000 guitars and you can save $5 on every guitar by using $5 less stuff or crappier stuff, you can make $5,000 extra dollars on that run the guitar.
Right. And
that's the way factories work.
Pay 4 or 5 other employees along the way to make your job more effective.
Yeah.
And along that lines of questioning, there's multiple ways of doing your shielding besides the copper tape. There's other ways to do it with liquid fluid, and also I use oftentimes aluminum as a conductor. For duct work, and it's actually considered aluminum.
The cheap stuff you can get at the Ace True Value.
Yes, exactly.
The Ace Hardware.
Yes, it conducts electricity just as well as the brass or the copper.
And if you start reading up on Faraday cages and how they work, it doesn't all have to be conductive within itself. It's you're basically building.
That's my takeaway from this is, if you're just doing your guitar, you should do everything you can, everything that you want to do, because
why not?
Why not? Yeah, it's only a few extra bucks.
Right.
Okay. And we know a bunch of people who work for, big companies and small companies who get that sort of, the return on saving $5, $50 worth of stuff for a big company is a big deal. For a boutique guy though, or for an heirloom quality guitar builder, you can't not do that. You've got to use the best stuff. And if you don't, people are going to know about it real fast, and they're going to go, hey, this is just the same bullshit that you get from some factory thing. And my friend Jim will tell you, you cannot do that. You've got to give people the best quality stuff. And that's because that's your only offensive weapon against the big companies, is you can go, I'm going to make the best thing that I can, and I'm going to set the price for it later. And whatever it is what it is. And you guys are going to get something awesome. So yeah,
totally.
You've got to do that.
Yep. Ready?
Yeah.
This is a really great question from Driddle. Are you actively using the fancy Infinity router bit? I saw it again in a video the other day. Any issues since the initial review?
I love the Infinity tools. I don't know what they call it, that router bit with the bearing on the top and the bottom. I love that thing. That is awesome. I'm not ready to say it's going to replace my shaper, but I will say this, Devin, if you're making Fender style necks, I don't even use my shaper for Fender style necks anymore. I just use that.
You cut close, leave very, very little to take off, and use that bit.
Absolutely. It's worked out great.
What would you say is really close, like within an eighth of an inch?
No, even closer than that.
Yeah.
Within a 16th? No, even closer than that. Because I like to rock the line, baby.
Pencil thickness.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Joe Exotic wants to know if we need another shaper because he's got an inside deal on one.
I'm always okay. You know, I have a shaper and I love the shaper. I think that having multiple tools set up to do one specific job is a big time saver. So yes, if you have a shaper that, hey, I don't know, it fell off a truck, let me know.
Maybe it's under 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Right.
I know. But like I would love to have 3 drill presses and they each were set up with one bit and
one operation.
I was teasing Chris from Highline Guitars this week, who's a cool guy. And guys, don't flame that guy. I was just razzing him a little bit. He said, I predict that by the end of the year, you'll sell your beloved pin router to finance a new CNC. Like, you don't know me very well. But I would love, once we push into the new building, don't be surprised if there's a third pin router in there one day. I don't know what we're going to do with it, but yeah.
A pin router, man, I tell you, I've gone into this conversation with so many people throughout the years.
People who like big name players. Right?
Yeah, big name players. And one of whom I mentioned earlier in my discussion, where we're talking about the advantages and the disadvantages of certain aspects of the equipment. And you could really look at it having an advantage of both of them. They have to fit a certain directive.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you're dealing with custom built instruments, it takes a lot more time to set up the programming, this and that, and then doing the research, the cutting on subpar product before you waste this and that. Whereas with a pin router, it becomes a little bit more intuitive based upon something you have tangent in your hands. And
you can make moves with it.
Yeah. And then they both have their place. I can't knock one or the other, but I can say that I can do just about anything I want to do with my overarm routers as I could imagine doing with the pin router, probably equally as fast.
Oh, with the CNC, you mean?
Yeah, with the CNC, yeah. As I have seen them operate and been around them for many different applications, from gun building, to guitar building and that in between. And you know what is important was, what can you afford to get into this business with? What makes your life easier? How can you, reach your endeavors and things that you want to do as a builder? You don't need to have $60,000 to go buy a 3-axis or 4-axis CNC. I mean, you can do it very well with even like a Fox style, which I've been using for many years.
You've got 2 or 3 of those,
don't you? Now, yeah. And they do well for me, but I'm not building any more than, maybe 15 instruments a year.
I don't know how we got off on this tangent, probably because I love to go down this tangent, but here's my thing. When it comes to pin routers, you can buy an industrial grade pin router for way less than you can buy an industrial grade CNC machine. So like our CNC machine it's one of the bigger small CNC machines. Would you agree, Chris?
Yes.
It's a big small CNC machine. There's no way it could keep up with our pin router or a shaper. It's just too slow.
Yeah.
It's very precise and it's great for doing little tiny detailed things. Now, if you had $100,000 5-axis CNC mill, it'll blow the doors off my pin router. But I'll take that John Henry challenge for at least a day. Because the pin router will do a lot, and it'll do it fast. But when you start comparing industrial tools to industrial tools, you can buy a lot more pin routers than you can CNC machines, and that's what people do. They compare industrial tools to, I hesitate to say hobby tools, but so my pin router, that's not a fucking that's not a 2-day-a-week machine.
No.
You know what I mean? So like our CNC machine is very slow compared to the pin router.
Oh yeah.
You could get a CNC machine that's faster than my pin router.
But that is 0 to your purpose.
Yeah, exactly. That is 0. So there are CNC machines and there are CNC machines. But do not confuse anything that you can buy for under $5,000 for an industrial tool. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say,
Prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong. If there's any plywood in your CNC machine, it's not an industrial tool.
Doug Cook says, I tried Texas Toast Pin Router once. I bought one a couple months later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Doug's going to be joining us next week. That's going to be cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, yeah. And then John Norsik says, I tried the biggest I think the biggest challenge with CNC is the learning curve around setup and design.
Mhm.
I've seen dudes that buy 20,000 CNC, then it sits idle.
Right.
That is a bump.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And there is that interface between design and then tool pathing. And,
Uh-huh.
you know, and depending on what you purchase, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, the software is going to be, I guess,
See you, Jim.
more, take care, Jim, more kind of combined, you know, and maybe a little bit more user friendly, but there is that 3-axis auto machine, you know,
Yeah.
big one, industrial size.
And if you're spending 20 grand to 120 grand, that machine has to run all day, every day.
Right. Most people are leasing them. And, you
Are
know,
they? Okay. That makes sense too.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, you obviously you have to keep them running all day, you know. So then you got to pay people.
Yeah.
I mean, who
Chris,
do you know?
Chris, I have a question for you. I got this
Yeah.
today. Someone said, you know, one of the benefits of CNC machining is you can set it up and let it go and do something else. You and I have discovered that that's hardly what happens for the
Right.
first couple been doing something
Well,
else. But
and
yeah.
even then, even if I walk away from it, I'm still sort of tuned into it because I
Are
can
you
hear it.
listening?
Yeah.
I can sort of see it,
Yeah.
and I'm getting better with that whole concept.
Eventually, we
But
probably won't. Yeah.
Right now, I'm still mostly CNC aware.
we
call it that.
we're fascinated by the choreography of the CNC.
Yeah.
The
machine.
dance.
The
Yeah.
dance of the
Eventually,
CNC machine.
I won't be, but for right now, yeah, I'm still.
I am
involved
too.
in the
Yeah.
CNC.
The CNC ballet.
The CNC
Uh-huh.
ballet.
Yeah.
Not as good as the Glendale ballet, but
or
pretty
the
good.
Spandau ballet.
They don't, you know, the CNC ballet doesn't come with a prime rib.
No, it doesn't
Okay.
doesn't come with a real good double meat burger. All right, what else we got?
Stephen George
Hi,
asks,
Stephen.
if installing an ABR1 bridge, does it matter if I just use the threaded post, or should I go for the larger bushing type mounting?
Okay, so he's asking about a Tunomatic style bridge. There are the old school way to install those was just the basically screws
Mhm.
Yeah.
that would screw into the wood, and that was on one side, and then on the other there were 1032 threads
Yeah.
that the adjustment wheels would thread onto. I don't like those one bit.
They're hard to put in.
They're hard
That's
to
the
put
issue
in.
with those.
And they're hard to adjust when there are strings on the guitar.
Yeah.
So I like the threaded bushings for a number of reasons, and I think they're cooler.
Yeah, I mean, you gain a lot of bit with the stability of that bushing going into wood.
Yeah.
Depending on the type of wood, how soft it is, you are gaining vertical stability of the post on that Tunomatic bridge with that bushing, and comparative to the thinner diameter threaded post going down into it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just simple.
You know what
Geometry
this
in that
is?
respect.
It's more of those guys who go, "Oh, I like it because it's the old school way."
That's the way they did it.
That's the way they did it. And if you can say, if you just say, "Hey, Mike, I like this because I think it's cool," you're never going to be able to convince. Or can I convince you that it's better sonically?
No.
Yeah, you will
Why don't you
never.
have a political debate on top of that?
yeah, you'll never be able to convince Mike Learn or myself that there is any advantage to it other than you think it's cool.
Right.
So if you think it's cool, happy meal for you.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't think it's cool.
I agree. I mean, I always look at kind of this as an example. You could stick your head on a railroad tie and hear a train coming a mile away. You stick your head on a log,
Mhm.
that's 50, 60 feet long. You barely hear somebody tapping at the other end of it. So you're dealing with densities and transference of
I think
energy.
so too. Yeah, I like the more mass on a bridge. I'm all about it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, obviously the mass on that is as the strings pass over the bridge, it's mostly a perpendicular push into the wood. But I think at a certain point you start to deal with, the post wanting to pull over.
100%. Even if you have, yep. Ooh, and you know what else? They're way easier to install than those
Agreed.
dorky other things where you
Yeah.
gotta,
We have to thread wood.
yeah.
Yeah. Tom Welgos.
Hi, Tom.
And I'm only going to let Mike answer this with a couple of words.
Oh, this
Okay.
is going to be a good
All
one.
right.
Response is limited.
Correct. What program is Mike using to produce his stencils?
Corel Draw.
There you go. Next question.
Wow, that
How
was-
long did it take to get over the anxiety of building a guitar for somebody else?
Oh,
That's a good question, right?
who asked that?
Driddle.
Devin. Okay. So how long did it take to get over the anxiety of?
A long time.
I'm not 100% sure that I'm over that anxiety.
I completely agree. I
Well,
completely
he's built
agree.
it for
Like
Doug lately too, so
like 100% over it. Chris and I have this thing where when we're working on your guitar is the most important thing that we're doing. As soon as we put it down to the next guys, then the next guys is the most important.
Yeah.
Because I think that you can't. But maybe what he means though is, at what point do you gain the confidence to go, yeah, I can do that. Let's start cutting $400 worth of maple.
Sure. And start charging people for your efforts.
That's a big
That's
one.
the
Yes.
That's the big one.
Yeah. I think for myself, it's like you said, I think it never changes. I mean, for me as a builder, I rarely do anything the same because everything I do is so one-off. I do a very limited number of guitars a year, 12 to 15 a year.
Okay.
Everything is uniquely different, custom ordered. I don't spec build anymore. Very rarely, unless I get a crazy hair up my ass. I gotta go try something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I think that with that, for me, I feel the pressure of the individuality of each of those instruments. And I can't say that the stress level has gotten any better over the years because I still have that same level of attention and stress to make sure that I'm putting out the very best product that I can.
So you have to kind of thread that needle, right? You have to go, I have confidence to do it, but I want to make sure I do the best possible job I can because this customer is the most important customer I have right at that second.
Exactly.
So that's a chicken shit answer, but it's true. It's the true answer. So,
and I think anybody who's going to venture into building will find that to be true very fast.
Yeah. If you're building for other people, you're either going to have to step up and think that your stuff is good, or stop doing it and just build for yourself.
You know, one of the things that was a real eye opener for Chris and I was going to trade shows. So Devin, here's something I would advise you to do, and I would advise you to come with us. You could come. Hey, you want to come to you could go to the NAMM show with Matt and Mike and me. Wait, I'm Matt with Chris and Mike and me. Maybe you could get Ike at Flipside Music to we could sponsor you. Go and look and see.
He's the guy that's I know a guy.
He's the know I guy.
Yeah, that's a vacation destination.
Go and
we
see.
May offer.
Right.
Go
That's
and
a good
see.
idea.
Oh, that is a great one.
It is
Right.
a great idea.
It is.
That is an awesome
We just got to
idea.
wait for him to happen again.
Yeah, we got. But go and see what some of these other guys are doing. When Chris and I exhibited at the NAMM show and went to the NAMM shows, we went and saw what people were doing, and we were like, "Ooh, we got to up our game here. We got to do this. We got to do that." And when we were at the Nashville show exhibiting, I was like, I don't feel like we're beholden to anybody at this show. Like no one's got it over on us. Not that like everybody else's stuff wasn't good, but we didn't feel like we were the chumps. You know what I mean? Go and see what everyone else is doing and know what you can do. And that's a great metric. Plus it would be fun and we could get drunk.
It would.
ma'am.
And we could make them the designated drivers.
Dang, dude, that would be fun. But, hey, Chris,
Okay.
Chris, what do you think it would be like to go to the NAMM show with Mike Learn?
I think that would be.
I think
awesome.
here's what I think it would be like.
I also think that we would be basically invisible.
We would be, yeah, because guys would be like, "Hey, it's Mike
Which I don't
Learn."
know that I really want. We're talking about how removable.
We might be a little bit more visible.
And Matt's
but,
like,
yeah.
I don't think we would. And I'm like, I think we'd be recognized 5 or 6 times in a day. And
Maybe.
everywhere we went with Mike.
Mike would be recognized 5 or
Mike,
6 times a minute.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, hey, hey, Mike, who are your friends?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are these
Right.
dicks?
Maybe. Yeah.
Nah, that would. I don't think it's going to be quite as obvious as that.
Driddle and I will come with you.
Yeah.
Yep,
It would
yep,
be sort of like going to the NAMM show with, I don't know, Brian Nutter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Who are your two nerdy friends?
Yeah, who are these
dudes?
Who are the
Well,
dweebs?
Yeah.
let's hope we can do that. I mean, summer NAMM is one thing, but winter NAMM is by far
It's the big
event.
show, yeah.
It's worth the wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. Mike Learn guitars, Texas Toast guitars, Nutter guitars.
In a
They-
booth.
No, they
Oh.
just like hanging out, having fun, wandering around,
Yeah,
drinking,
sure.
goofing around. If we have a booth, we're going to be saddled to the booth.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
we talked about a coalition. And
Yeah.
I think that's just a bad idea. I don't even think any of us need to show anything. We just walk around with our iPhones showing pictures of what we did.
Or yeah,
Being cool.
Yeah.
even doing
Acting
interviews.
cool. Oh,
You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
like the Two Ferns thing that
Yes.
Diana and you and I
Yes.
were doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just having fun with people. I mean, obviously, though, most of the guys are there setting up. They're going through a whole shitload of pressures to do
Yeah.
this and that and the other thing. I don't know how much stress-free, interviewing you're going to get out of them.
Well, I mean, certainly not on day one, but
Right.
like, so
Maybe the end of the
we
week.
used to do that where we would go and hang around with some of the guys. Like the Winter NAMM show, what's like the littlest, tiniest money you can spend on a booth is over $3,000. That's
Yeah,
for the
if you
little teeny
split it.
money. And
Next
that's the
to the
smallest
bathroom.
booth.
Is that a
you can
5x10
get.
or a 10x10?
It's the smallest hunk of crap booth you can get.
Hmm.
And then you got to pay someone to move all your stuff
Right.
in, and you
The
got to
union.
Yeah. So yeah,
Hook up electricity,
Exact-
another
oh, yeah,
$1,000.
yeah. You wanted that shit, yeah.
Yeah, that was really funny. All right, you ready?
Ready.
This is a
Hit it.
great question. And maybe some other people can chime in.
Okay.
John Norsik wants to
Hi,
know,
John.
Hey, I've noticed that lots of people seem to be not painting in this year's GGBO. Most seem to be oiling, staining, etc. Are
Okay.
painted guitars out of fashion, or are contestants a bit spooked? And we actually have a contestant in the room.
We have a contestant
He's
for
got
the.
the
look at
shirt
the-
and everything.
Yeah, he does.
He
does.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Come on.
If you were to ask Mike Learn or Chris or myself, painted guitars are out of vogue, we would say, no way.
It's a lot like the hot rod scene where you have the cars with the patina out there and they rusted and looking crappy because they know how much work or they go in making a car or an instrument
Yeah.
look fantastic. Paint is a very crushing part of the industry. If you don't know how to paint and you're building this fantastically crafted piece of wood,
And the last step.
and the paint's going to blow it for you if you can't get through the process. And it takes years understanding materials, takes to have a good atmosphere to spray the stuff, environment,
Yeah.
proper equipment. It's not easy. And that's
It's not easy. It's not cheap.
no, and it's not to knock the oiled instruments
No.
because I love a very natural instrument that has ambient qualities to it because it's not encumbered by a finish on it
Mhm.
oftentimes. So, but
But I think that people buy with their eyes first.
true.
And so if there's 10 guitars, you go to the one that you think looks the coolest first, then you play it. And if it sounds like crap, then you're not going to buy it. But you know what I mean? But
It's like a plate of food.
Yeah.
90% of your appetite is with your eyes.
yeah.
People listen with their eyes.
They listen with their eyes, they taste with their eyes.
And also too, Mother Nature is perhaps the greatest artist out there.
No
The
doubt.
the unpredictability of some of the figures in these woods available today at a very high cost to assemble a book match piece. That has a certain appeal to somebody who has maybe more of a subjective vision of looking at a book match piece of wood, and they can see certain things. Things come to them visually that other people will see differently, and that becomes an element that can't be produced with paint very easily. Anyway.
No.
So there is to be something to be said about that, but there is that process of painting, which is very difficult to put off the professional quality of the instruments that you see out there by the greater
That's the thing.
gods of guitar production.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like pizza with toppings.
Yeah.
There's that.
If your pizza's good, you don't need a bunch of toppings on it.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that paintwork will always be the thing that all guitars are judged by first.
Initially coming up to, I mean, I've seen stuff shot that I had to like bury a lot of craftsmanship in paint.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Very
let's ask our resident.
We have a
GGBO
contestant for the
contestant.
Great Guitar Build Off 2021 here in
Yes.
shop.
And hopefully we won't embarrass him.
Boston Gary.
Come on over. Give us a
Yeah, come on over. All right. So
Gary
this
is
is
the
Gary
man.
from Tafty Guitar. You're gonna have to scrunch
Just
down
scrunch
a
down
little
there,
bit
Gary.
there.
Keep scrunching.
So Gary,
Try not to break the
try
whole
not to
shop,
wreck
Gary.
stuff. Gary spent a week with us. It's been great to have. You'll see
There you
more
go.
of him tomorrow. What do you think, Gary? Are you painting? Are you oiling? Are you what are you gonna do this year?
I think when it comes to the Great Guitar Build-Off, it's most of the contestants are guys like me. You either have a small shop with no paint booth,
That's a
or
big one.
guys at home that obviously don't have a paint booth. So yeah, I think that's kind of where the stain and oil thing comes from.
Let me
So
ask you
it's a means
this.
to an end.
It is.
You have
yeah,
to do
it's-
something.
Yeah. Here's my thing. If you had a great guitar with a really nice oil finish or a great guitar with a so-so paint job, I'd go with the great guitar with the pretty decent oil finish every single time.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that paint is out.
No, and I mean, having sat in the class for the last 3-4 days with you, how do you feel you have gained any perspective on paint towards what you want to do as a guitar builder?
Yeah, Gary.
I definitely want to start painting more. I'm going to need a spray booth. I'm going to need a place to do it.
Mhm.
And my current shop is
you guys
not
painted
gonna
in
be-
basically a room here with the open door.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, airbrushing is something I can definitely do at my shop the way it is. But the clear coats, the stuff like that, that's going to be difficult.
I love his accent.
And
I do
haven't
too.
had-
yeah. And so I guess talking to you about this kind of enhances what we were discussing, why people do oils versus, I mean, because there's so many great craftsmen out there working in, excuse me, a 20 by 20
Yeah.
or a 10
Yeah.
by 10,
I know two who were
Yeah.
2 years
It's
ago.
easy to get,
Yeah.
What?
you know.
Chris and I were in a 20 by 20 space
For
And
many
it's
a few
years.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine's 14 by 30.
Yep.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a little small.
So there's really, I mean, you can't really, it's hard to bag or separate the difference. Let's say one's got more quality than the other. I think it's a certain amount of subjective appeal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But is paint out? No way.
Yeah.
No.
Not at all.
Is oil out?
No.
No way.
No, it
way.
has its place.
Yeah.
I even think some of the best stuff I've done has been with a hammer, chains, chisels, bolts,
Wait,
and oil. Yeah.
okay.
I mean, some of the stuff I've done, I just go in there and beat the snot out of them with the
Okay.
chains, and then, I'll spray them black,
Yeah.
and then I'll knock them back with the DA, so all the indentations I put in become a very distinct configuration of graphic elements.
We were talking about this. Dave came out and took the Build a Classic Telly with us, and that has like a very simple but very cool, very durable finish.
Yeah.
And it lets the wood kind of
Yeah.
do some talking, but it doesn't, and it's easy to do, right, Dave?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And if you're gigging, you don't want to be like, have this great guitar that you've spent multiple thousands of dollars on, and you worry about it.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And you're up there doing your best, whatever, and you're worried about scratching it because you got,
Yeah.
you got to wear some cool,
I gotta look
stage gear.
cool.
Yeah.
Oil is not very,
Yeah.
very protective.
No, not at all.
But it's easy to reapply.
Very,
It is.
very easy. So there is this and that. I mean,
Yeah, I think a well done finish is a well done finish, whether it's oil or
Perfect.
gloss.
Yeah.
And if it's a poorly done finish, it doesn't matter if it's oil or gloss or whatever.
Absolutely.
It still looks crappy.
exactly.
And so you have to
Right.
figure out what kind of finish you're going after, and then do all the steps to make
Yeah.
sure that you get that finish. And some of
True.
them are easier than others, but they're all fairly difficult, really.
Yeah.
In the end,
To
in
get
the
right,
end.
yeah.
To get to look the way you want them to look, unless it's beat to shit, not finished wood. That's
That-
an easy finish. to
Yeah.
get.
Yeah. So, guys, you'll see more of Gary tomorrow when we reveal his guitar and everybody else's guitar from the Build and Paint with Mike Learn. Chris, I think we got time for one more question. We have one more. Thanks, Gary.
Hey, no problem,
Thanks,
man.
Gary. You rock, brother.
Uh,
You rock.
Give me a second.
We're going to do one more. We have no idea what it is. It
Yep.
could be anything.
Yep.
Here we go.
Here we go.
All right.
Stephen George.
Hi, Steven.
This might be more question than we need. I've seen guitar build videos where the guys build the neck and pickups to the bridge section all in solid piece,
Okay.
like the Les Paul log.
Okay.
Then they attach the side wings later.
All right.
Pros or cons? This is actually a really great question.
So
because Mike
As opposed to those other
is a
shitty
fan of that kind of
So
stuff.
who asked
The
that
neck
question
through
again?
construction.
Stephen George.
Stephen George. What is Stephen George is asking about is, of course, a
neck through construction.
neck through construction.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yes, I for myself, I mean, I think that's what most of my, my clients want is a neck through section. So yes, I do myself. I build the whole neck section all the way through to the point where I know how it is going to be, and generally I have to pre-plan all this on my CAD drawing program to calculate a pattern that's going to accommodate, how the cutaway is going to be. Towards the horn, the forward horns of the car, or whatever shape it may be. But I still build the neck sections all the same. Some of them will have maybe 2 degrees of angle in. Some of them will have 0 angle in, depending on what I'm using. One non-recessed. There's a lot of little variables of that. So yes, I focus a lot of my builds strictly based upon the neck section. Then I add the wings to it. Then I'll go ahead and start to do the rough cutting on a bandsaw. Then I'll go in with the overarm router, with a roller template or a pin template.
Both hands, the number of neck through guitars we've made in the last 5 years. Most of the stuff we do is set neck or bolt on.
Mm-hmm.
I come down on the I like a set neck guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do a neck through if
Right.
that's what somebody wants, but generally speaking, I'm not most of it is because I'm all jigged up and I'm all so we do very few neck through. I don't know. Do you think advantage to that?
I think it really can be. There's so many ways a center section can be destroyed by assembly, as far as maybe the choice of woods, possibly. And I think that also can be destroyed by electronic selection over something you've got on a real stable neck selection. Now, I do like the fact that with the center section, it provides me with the opportunity to do a wider range of types of laminates to
Sure, that's
accommodate
cool.
for stiffness along
Absolutely
the longitude,
cool. Yeah.
of the neck. So there is that. But to say that it's any better than a neck glued in necessarily with a long tenon,
Yeah.
I can't really say that, because
What about this? What about when it comes to buffing?
Oof.
Really,
Well,
and a set neck is just as bad.
I never paint the necks.
Oh, okay. Well, but you still got to get the buffing into the cutaway
corn, yeah.
dealies. Yeah.
Yeah, I rely on my ability to apply paint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, in those areas, so I don't have to really get into them too much.
Chris loves to buff. Well, Chris would rather buff a body than a body with a neck on it. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's just easier.
I agree. I mean, buffing a bolt-on neck is by far it's so much
It's
easier.
a whole, yeah.
Yeah, even if you're building a set neck section there where you pre-paint the bolt in the body and then you're setting the neck into
Sometimes
it.
we do that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of companies do that. I mean, it's not a bad way to do it, but you got to be very
if you've got
meticulous.
mahogany body and a maple neck, you could get that we're sealing. The maple's already sealed, but you've got this smear of sealer on the mahogany to get it to go.
Right.
The hot setup is to do the mahogany body separate, sand it way back, get it level,
Mhm.
glue the maple neck in, then shoot it one more time, and done.
Right.
And we do that if we're doing mahogany with maple. Isn't that right, Chris? That's
Yep.
the way we do that. Yeah.
I get a majority of my customers who send me Jackson guitars that had previously painted necks.
Mhm.
They have me strip the necks completely of the paint, and then I oil them for them. And I tell them
Cool.
oftentimes you don't know what you're going to get under that painted neck.
Yeah.
When you strip it down to bare wood. But Jackson has never let me down. There's been a
They
few other
use the
companies.
good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, a couple other companies have sent, where I've had to strip the neck, and then I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
that's why it was painted, But for the most part, though, I mean, I don't like cleaning up paint on fret edges, fingerboard edges. I just don't like it. I think it's, I don't like it at all. I think there's a reason to go with an oiled neck, even on a neck through construction.
What are the pitfalls of neck through? You gotta do your homework to make sure the angle neck rake is right.
Right.
You got to make sure you're doing that right.
Right. Well, if you build a neck through based upon, let's say, a slab construction, slab cut,
yeah, that's no big shake.
It's risky. It's because now you've got a whole guitar rather than quarter saw. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So you're dealing with a whole body that's based upon this thing that could possibly twist over the years. It depends on the construction.
I thought you meant like slab body, like flat in the neck plane is flat, not have an angle for like a tunematic that has to be 2 degrees or whatever.
Yeah, compensating for that, it's really not that big of a deal when you get into it. There's certain tricks to setting up the jigging to cut them right, but I think if you're going for the least amount of effort possibly to build a neck through guitar, and use a slab cut neck, I think you're taking risks that at some point in time,
I think so.
If something starts to torsionally twist along the length of the truss rod, then your whole thing's shot.
Yeah. So I'm going to say, if you're building your first guitar, build a bolt-on, build a telly. Your second guitar, glue the neck in. Your third guitar, go neck through. And by the way, the guy, Chris, would you build an electric guitar book over there? Could you grab it real quick?
Hiscock?
Yes, that guy died recently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melvin Hiscock. Melvin Hiscock. I would like for you guys to locate his book. I believe it's called Build an Electric Guitar.
Yep.
It's Melvin Hiscock. He recently passed away. Get that book while you can.
Yeah.
Who
going to print again. It's a valuable resource. I mean, especially for us guys who started doing this stuff before the internet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Bob Benedetto is another great resource for getting books and educating yourself. A lot of different type of instruments along that way. So between Benedetto and Hiscock, I mean, quite honestly, I owe those guys a great.
What about Don Teeter?
I've not.
You didn't steal the Don Teeter books from the library like I did?
No, I never.
Okay.
Never.
I mean, I didn't do that, but yeah.
No.
So, guys, thanks for watching another episode of Thursday Tax Day live to your house. But it was cool to have you hang out with us and sit in. Thank you to Chris for working behind the boards. Thank you to always beguiling Mrs. Toast. Thank you to Doug and Dave and Gary and everybody else who was here, Jim and Greg, and did I miss somebody? Anthony Icavangelo.
YouTube channel for his GGBO videos.
Gary is going to post. Okay, good. Yeah. So, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for the biggest Texas Toast reveal of all time. Bad at Texas.